time short. I know we're going over time, so inshallah it will be quick. Today my lecture was, and actually I have to say mashallah, like, we think that actionable agenda or a community having to do something has to be something grand and something huge. But mashallah, this is just an example that, things can be small and simple, and we actually get stuff accomplished. So, Umar, kudos to you going straight with mashallah. My topic is random reflections, and this is just statements or realities or reflections upon what I've thought of or what I've heard people say or what I've read. And so it doesn't have any sequence in regards to that I'm trying to pick on a topic or a theme, but rather just some things that have come to my mind that I'm sure has been percolating in some of your minds, and some things that I thought were very, I guess, inspiring, and other times things for us to actually think about I guess in general with the current themes of life and what's taking place. So the other day I was reading a book, and I'm sure maybe some of you are aware of, it's written by Dr. Umar Farooq Abdullah. It's called The Victorian Era, about Alexander Russell Webb. And he was basically a Muslim in America in the early 1830s or so. I can't remember when he was born, but essentially he was regarded as one of the first Muslim ambassadors to the United States of America. And he was born a non-Muslim, and then he converted to Islam when he was gone to Philippines as an ambassador. And even in that, he was in a transition of different faiths. So he was essentially a Christian. Then he was in contact with other faiths, and then at the end he just became a Muslim because he just met with Muslims and he was inspired by the Muslim way of life. And his influence was, or his involvement with the community, which I guess goes with Umar's theme, was significant. He was a journalist as well, and he was very well regarded. And his journalism was so respected, and his ambition to present Islam was so well respected that the Ottoman Empire made him the ambassador of the Ottoman Empire in America. Even though he wasn't born Turk or he wasn't born anything, but he was made the ambassador, and he was given the highest honor for an ambassador that Ottomans have ever given to anyone. So he was given to it. So I mean, I was reading his book, and then this is just basically about Alexander Russell Webb. But what was something that really, I guess, caught my interest was a statement that I read that Abraham Lincoln said. And in his time, in Alexander Russell Webb's time, there was a lot of issues. Obviously, the Civil War took place between the abolitionists and those who wanted slavery to exist. So we had one group who would claim that slavery was part of Christianity, and that God says condones slavery, and it's unchristian to fight against slavery. Then you had the other group, which was in the north, that said that slavery has no place in Christianity, Jesus never taught such a thing, and so on and so forth, and the battle took place. So his statement was, and Abraham Lincoln's thing was, that these two groups are actually divided on the very basis that they believe that their claim is religiously justified. And they both think that what they are fighting for, their cause, is a religious cause. So both sides were actually fighting each other, claiming to be holding on to the truth. And something that he said, it was just so small, but I think it was so interesting and so applicable to the Muslim world, was that he said that instead of the Christians trying to bring God on their side, they should come on to God's side. So instead of each group saying God is on my side and fighting on his behalf, but rather they should go to God's side and decide and understand what is it that God wants, instead of trying to say and hijack God and say God wants this only. And I know it's a very small tweaking of words, but his understanding is very different, because it goes from an understanding of being self-righteous, saying that God is on my side, to saying I'm going to God's side, in a statement of being humble and actually putting yourself in true servitude to God. So we see a lot of the times with the current, all of us are obviously very disturbed with the current situation all over the world. and maybe Iraq or the recent bombings in Pakistan or what's taking place in Afghanistan and all this stuff, and we see that people are fighting each other, and this is excluding, for example, the new conservative agenda, for example, in the United States, where George Bush himself is a very practicing Christian, so he himself is fighting for his faith as well. So it can't be ever considered that the war, so-called war on terror, is not a religious war, because he himself believes that God had told him that he should be fighting this war, and he said himself that it was a crusade. But I'm right now just reflecting on the Muslim portion, which is that we as Muslims are fighting and killing each other, or killing humanity, or killing innocent people on the basis that God has condoned us to do that. And when I think of that, and I think of Lincoln's statement, I think that it's a very arrogant stance that many people have taken, that they consider taking a life of a human being as insignificant, even though they don't recognize the reality that taking the life of a human being is like taking the life of all of humanity, which is what the Quran says. And taking the life of a human being is considered so insignificant that now we don't even, when we hear it in the news, we think of it in regards as lives are lost. I think of even the wording. So look how cleverly news and media words things. Instead of saying, they say lives are lost. What does lost mean? Things that you cannot find. And lost obviously means, yeah, you're gone, your soul is gone, but it's something which you cannot find no more. You cannot hold, or you're not accountable for it anymore. Because when it's lost, it's not in your presence anymore, right? If they actually said statements like lives taken, that means that now lives are actually accounted for. So when people are being killed, for example, when they say 50,000 people were lost from a bomb, that takes off the responsibility of people. But when they say 50,000 lives were taken, that means now they're within your grasp and you're responsible for those things. Those are small tweaks, and this is something that I think as people we have to start thinking about our what we're doing on this earth, and especially as Muslims, what are we doing on this earth? What this bloodbath that's taking place everywhere, where is it coming from, and how do we actually address these issues? And I think, Lincoln's statement I just think is beautiful. I was reading it at nighttime, this book, and I just read that statement over and over and over again because I thought it was that profound. I just thought it was such a profound statement of, instead of trying to hijack God, going to God. And